You're listening to the Morphology Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Morphology Podcast, aka Murph here to share interviews about biking experiences from cyclists who have pedaled to places all over. Each week, we'll get to know new people and explore new destinations to ride your bike. As you listen to these adventures, you may wonder, why haven't I done that yet? And hey, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you'll know when new episodes hit. As you know, there are many ways to enjoy a bicycle tour, whether you join an event, pay someone to provide logistics, or you do it all yourself. On this episode, meet Zach from Summit Cycle Solutions. He started this all-encompassing logistics company back in 2016 when he noticed a strong need for logistics specific to cycling. Summit Cycle Solutions does everything from full service like ordering porta-pots, filing permits, securing venues, and hotels or camping for events, or they will take on one or two components of an event that maybe a ride director might need help with. They also provide logistics support for private tours of up to 50 riders. Zach takes his job very seriously. He knows we riders are trusting him and his company with our time and with our vacation. A few rides that Summit Cycle Solutions are part of is the Triple Bypass and Colorado's ride in Colorado and Cycle North Carolina Mountains to Coast Tour. Events range from one day to a long weekend to week-long tours that take place in breathtaking places. Zach and his team work hard so riders can enjoy themselves without worry about logistics. I got to see Zach and his team in action during Colorado's ride and was very impressed. They worked long hours, they balanced many tasks seamlessly, and still brought the hype to the event. You can learn more about Summit Cycle Solutions and the events they are part of at summitcyclesolutions.com or email Zach at info@summitcyclesolutions.com. Get signed up for their newsletter so you are in the know. And if you're interested in riding the Mountains to Coast ride in North Carolina, man, let me know. So here's my interview with Zach. A very warm welcome to Zach Ostrander. How are you doing, Zach?
Good. Thanks for the call today. Look
Good.
forward to chatting with you.
Yeah. So you are the owner of a pretty cool organization called Summit Cycle Solutions. And I have had the pleasure of utilizing your services a couple times now. And we were talking when we were at an event in Colorado, and I'm like, hey, you should be on the podcast. And I don't know if you were like willingly yes, but it was definitely a happy yes. So here you are.
I love it. No, it's absolutely a pleasure. And yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's really cool to get to participate in your podcast because I've gotten to listen to it over a fair bit of time now. So
Oh,
thank you very
cool.
much.
And I was in Colorado for an event called Colorado's Ride, and your company was kind of doing. I'm sure you were doing much more than I was aware of, but you were like the stoke guy in the morning. Plus, you were like the luggage guy. Plus, it was a plus, 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 plus. So it made that event really cool for me, especially since I'm an Iowan and climbing mountains is not like something normal for me. So it was a little bit like a stressful, like, oh my gosh, how many feet of elevation do I have today? So it was nice to not have to worry about like the logistics part of it. So anyway, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's our pleasure. That's a great event. It's a lot of fun to partner with them and look forward to diving in on all of this.
Well, before we dive in, will you tell the listeners where you currently live and if there's a cycling culture there?
Oh man, absolutely. Yeah. So we live in the easiest way to say it is Summit County, Colorado, which
Oh, okay.
encompasses Breckenridge, Silverthorne. So we're, as the name would say, Summit Cycle Solutions from Summit County in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue, and some might argue against this, but I would argue we're somewhat of a mecca for cycling in the state. We have incredible mountain passes. We have incredible paths, logistics with regards to hotels, just a lot of great culture here to be able
Hmm.
to go ride every day. It's very cool.
And I'm going to guess that it's about every style of riding you want to do, whether it's mountain bike, road bike. I'm assuming you have gravel around there too?
It is, yeah, you bet. Yeah, Ute Pass is just north of town. It's a great gravel route. We've got some good stuff up on Boreas. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Summit County, it's about 3 or 4 towns right in the heart of the mountains of the Rockies. So we're at about 9, 10,000 feet of elevation,
Ah,
and yeah, so it gets your lungs burning. But yeah, we have anything and everything, and I'm blessed enough to be able to walk out the door and be on some great roads, some great bike paths, some great single track, you name it. Very cool.
and then do you actually ski in the wintertime?
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, that is my first love. Cycling came in later on, but I used to
Aha.
build terrain parks for like Olympic qualifiers and all these things. So we would be in charge of building the half pipes and jumps,
Oh,
and of
cool.
course, the events were in those space. And so then I got into the event world and managed that for Copper, if you know that resort.
Hmm.
And then we started Summit in 2016.
Okay. So you are kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to outdoor sports.
Well, I don't know about that, but I enjoy them all. Yeah, we grew up here, so I think you just kind of are born with bikes under your butt and
Yeah.
skis on your feet.
And like to build those kind of structures. I mean, I'm assuming you get it done, you're like, well, I'm going to have to test it out, make sure it's awesome. And then you probably
Yeah,
get hooked.
yeah. There was a few times I'll tell you that my math was wrong, and
Oh,
it took some trips to the hospital.
oh no.
Um, so it's not a very long career. I think I did it for 12 seasons, but at the end of the day, most of the time my math was accurate.
Okay. All right. Well,
So
maybe I'll strike that other part out. We'll just keep it at you're right most of the time.
yeah, or most of
Yeah.
the time.
Okay, so we've got Summit Cycle Solutions, which now I know the word summit comes from Summit County. Obviously, we all know what cycling means. So give us an idea of, I don't know, you said you told us what year you started this company, kind of like the history and how it came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in 2016, we started the company. We saw a strong need within the cycling community around logistics. And really, at its core, I would say, a good cycling event revolves around logistics. You're getting to the people to the right places at the right time. You're getting the aid stations set up, and you're communicating with all the participants
Hmm.
throughout that process. And there's been a lot of great charters out there. Shout out to Pork Belly,
Yeah.
and a lot of other folks. But Summit is a bit of this hybrid company, because in 2016 we saw this need for a little bit of an all-encompassing logistics company, specific to cycling events. So, I remember very specifically, had some great conversations with Ride the Rockies back in 2016. That was owned by the Denver Post,
Hmm.
and they were one of our first clients. And we came on that year, and we hit the ground running. I mean, it was one of the craziest times of my life for sure. And we just grew exponentially year after year, bringing on more and more events and tours and staff. And it's just been a pleasure since, to be honest. The adventures of it all is completely wild.
Well, and I've been in the bike industry now for a long time. I do quite a few events where I am kind of the leader, but I don't necessarily have a company, to do it. It's more of just me going, "Hey, friends, we're going to go on a bus trip to this, to point A, and then we'll bike to point B." And so I have just a tiny bit of understanding what it's like. Like I jokingly say it's like herding cats, right? So I'm thinking of one trip I had planned. I, rented a bus and a driver and got 35 people. So I had plenty of people to fill the seats. But then, each morning we're camping and all right, we want to be on our bikes by 9 o'clock. And then it's like 9:45 and somebody's, oh, I'm going to go take a shower real quick. And you're just like, oh my gosh. So like the whole keeping everybody, where are they at this moment? Where are they going to be? When do they need to stop and get a break? When do they need a snack? Like all of that. I'm giving you a high five through the microphone because you're managing or in charge of many more people than 30. And I'm talking about my situation where I'm friends with these people, so I can like yell at them like, all right, you guys, we can't sit in this bar for another hour. Like, we got to go. So,
Right.
like, do you have, when you look at an event and you're like, all right, I'm going to be the logistics company for this event, like, do you have goals, stronger than what I just described?
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge, right? Like you're hitting it spot on. I mean, some of our biggest events that we've supported we're talking thousands of people at
Yeah.
any given time on any given day.
And
And
everybody's
so,
at a different athletic ability, right?
yep,
So,
yeah.
like, and figuring out the route and people who maybe don't have the computer skills to have a computer on their bike. So, okay, now I'll let you talk because I'm thinking about all of these things that you have to work through.
No, it's a ton of things. And if just to give even more context to that, right, is the fact that you're asking in Colorado, for example, you're asking people from other parts of the world and our own country to come to 10, 12,000 feet and climb a mountain.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you like? There's a bear in the middle of the road. There's a moose. Like, what is going on? You know what I
Right,
mean? So
right.
you have all these things that it's just really, really fun to encourage and watch people succeed and setting them up through the structures that we do. So to answer your question, I tell our team, let's set the structure, let's work forward, and then let's build redundancies. And so what I mean by those three things is when we're setting the structure, it's things like, okay, we know the bus is going to leave at X time. Show up 45 minutes before, load your bike, do your thing. Work forward for our team is like, okay, what can we get done now so that if it hits the fan later, we have extra time in the day to get things done, right?
Mm,
Like, can we push gear ahead to the next town just because we're ahead on schedule?
mm-hmm.
And then build redundancies, right? We know that trucks are going to break down. We know that aid stations, there might be a delay in getting aid station food to an aid station.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we build those redundancies throughout? And the customer doesn't necessarily always see that, right? Like that's more of an internal piece. But from a customer perspective, we do this consulting program through our website where, if you're going to go to triple bypass, for example, a lot of customers will call us. They'll schedule 15 minutes on Calendly and they'll say, hey, what do I do? Where do I park? What's going on? And so,
Oh, so you'll do like a one-on-one?
yeah, we do one-on-ones with everybody. We do everybody that wants it. We do a lot of orientations. We do a lot of communication because, in addition to all those internal pieces, the redundancies and such that we build, it's really critical for us to be able to communicate well with the customer.
Right.
Because, it's that if they don't know where to go, then it doesn't work. I remember, I'll give you one little caveat story. I remember being in Grand Lake one time and we like had 1,000 people on this tour and we looked down and I text all these people all at once from my phone, right? Like texting 1,000 people to show up in a certain place. And I watched everybody's head in the whole coffee shop just go straight down to their phone all at once. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know?
The power you have.
Well, isn't it wild that we live in a day and age where you can communicate with 1,000 people?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
instantly.
Instantly. And what a blessing it is to be able to use that to help people ride these amazing passes and do these things.
Right. And the if you look at the big picture, like when I do tours like these, I'm doing it. I'm like taking vacation. I'm, taking time away from family to go and enjoy it. So, to have a one-on-one meeting with one of you guys because I'm worried about where I'm going to park or how much luggage can I bring? Like getting that out of the way makes it just even more enjoyable in addition to the actual act of biking and exploring new areas.
I couldn't agree more. It was beautifully said. I think, Bill Plock from Plotters Ride 303 Endurance, he has got a great pulse on the fact that you're really asking customers to give up a week of their life, and they're trusting their vacation and time with you. And there's
Right.
a lot of responsibility that goes with that.
For sure. So you have a tagline, at least I see it on your website, that says, "We work, you pedal." I mean, it's so clever, it's so simple, but it's so true. So,
Yeah.
can you give us an idea, like maybe a day in the life um, for you at Summit Cycle Solutions, and then also maybe a day in the life for like a cyclist who's on one of your tours?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, maybe I'll start 30,000 and kind of zoom in on that specific day. We start announcing our schedules in December for the next year. And the day of my standard life through the winter is that we'll, get up, we'll have all these consulting calls and
Hmm.
emails and kind of help people out. But then once we get on the tours in the summer, our team usually starts about 4:30 in the morning, and they get cranking. It depends on the event, depends on the services. But they'll move, a lot of days until about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So they're
Wow.
pushing 12, 15 hours a day, and we try to get them breaks in there and things of that nature. But, for me, it's usually we'll have 3 or 4 different teams, right? So for example, if you have an event that has a hotel team, and then you got 1,000 pieces of luggage going to 17 different hotels in the next town. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of movements there that we're kind of managing. And then we'll have a camping elevated team, which is like a valet tent service, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have that team, but it's split into two. So for example, well, I guess I haven't told you this, but our infrastructure is operated in two sets. So, for example, if you have a multi-day state tour, you can jump infrastructure A to C, B to D, so that when
Oh,
people show up, they can just move right into their tents. And as the charter, you're not chasing your pants to try and get a tent up.
sure, sure.
So that's that looking forward, and building the redundancy, because if we lose a piece of infrastructure, we can pull it from another team. So all that to be said, we've got all these different teams that work these events kind of in their own silos. And I usually on the event day am sitting somewhere in a car making sure that everybody's good. If somebody has a mechanical, or we lose some tents, or bags show up at the wrong hotel, then we have those redundancies to get them sorted.
And so, with all that going on in the background, what do you think a day in the life of a cyclist is like on one of your tours?
Mm. Well, if it goes well, hopefully they wake up, they eat some breakfast, roll out of their hotel, and just start pedaling. Um,
Sweet.
you know, we want it to be just that easy. They don't have to worry about all those other things, and when they sign up with us, then their husbands or wives don't have to worry about all those things either.
Right.
And that's the value in it. Yeah, it's a huge blessing to be able to support these guys. We get to meet the coolest people on the planet.
Sure. Yeah. I can completely agree with that. So when you look at like the offerings that you have through your company, I'm guessing it's going to be different for each event because I know, like special permitting, maybe you can't camp in a certain town or maybe there are no hotels available. So is it kind of like if I'm a cyclist, is it more of like a choose your own adventure? Like I'm going to do this event. I'm going to, work with Summit Cycle Solutions. I'm going to camp or hotel or I'm going to use like how does that work?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, let's dive into that for a second. There's kind of three boxes we operate in. Box A is, we're in the mix on everything, right? So our job is to go out and partner with different organizations to
Mhm.
get these tours off to the starts. And so in box A, we're looking at everything, right? We're looking at permitting, we're dealing with LOCs in the local communities. We're looking at venues, dealing with Port Johns, all that kind of stuff. And so then it kind of reduces down from there. Box B, I would say we do things like we do for triple bypass, where we handle a component of the event.
Mhm.
So like more of a charter basis, where we'll handle all the hotel gear transports or all the bus services back to the start, things of that nature. And then box C, is you don't even know we're there. We don't promote it on our website necessarily. So we have these events that we show up at all across the nation. The Deception Pass Classic, the Bike MS events, and we're there behind the scenes doing all the route marking, and we're doing all the aid station support, and so you don't even know we're there, which is great. That's our goal,
Yeah.
because Bike MS is so wholly focused on fundraising, and they have great causes. So all that to be said, from a consumer perspective, I guess a lot of our products aren't even known. But the ones that are known are definitely a la carte. They're choose your own adventure, right? For example, in Cycle North Carolina, if you want to just have our valet tent, great. But if you want us to move your gear, we'll do that too. If you want us to add extra camping on the beach afterwards, we can do that too. So for us, from a consumer perspective, from a rider perspective, that allows the rider to be budget conscious. For me, I'm like, man, I'm happy to move my bag a couple 100 yards every day to save $150 for a week.
Right.
But for other people, they're like, $150, so you can take it right to my tent door every day and I can move in and drink a beer. That sounds great.
Well, yeah, it's all about, the comfort. If I'm riding my bike all day and I have the funds, I'm going to go for as VIP as I can.
Yeah, totally. And in Colorado, the hotels are incredible. I mean, some of these places are amazing. So, we'll do hotel reservations for people, kind of like Expedia, on our website. And, they can pick a really high-end place in Aspen, or they can pick a Comfort Inn because they're more budget conscious and they know they're just not going to be in the hotel that long anyways. So I think that's the joy of the a la carte kind of positioning that we try to make.
Okay, so you've given us a little, peek into some of the events that you are part of, because I've heard you mention them while we've been talking. But give us, I don't know, a few events that you support that maybe listeners would want to check out and be part of.
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, I'm going to represent Colorado because that's where we're at. So I'll do a couple shout outs to Triple Bypass, which is, in my opinion, the crown jewel of the state at the moment. I mean, that event is brutal. It's hard. It's stunning. And it's also goes through our hometown here in Summit County.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, Team Evergreen's amazing. And then I'll do a shout out to Colorado's Ride, the one that you got to come with us on, which was a lot of fun. That event has been designed to be logistically simple. So you get to still ride amazing places, but you're not packing up and leaving the hotel every morning. So that's been a lot of fun to work with Bill Plock, who's the route director on that one. And then if I had to pick one other one, it's a toss-up. It'd probably either be Deception Pass in Washington State. That's just a stunning set of routes. Or Cycle North Carolina. And mostly because the culture in North Carolina is just absolutely lovely. Good humans, lots of fun. Yeah.
Okay, so those are both Washington State and North Carolina are two states that I have not biked in yet. So, you got to tell me a little bit more about them.
Yeah, sure. Well, the North Carolina one we just got done with, so it's fresh in my mind. And shout out to the North Carolina team. They have been through some hard times here recently with the floods, and they have really been a resilient state. I mean, everybody I've talked to from our customers, man, our hearts go out to you guys, and what a cool group of people. But the ride is Cycle North Carolina's Mountains to Coast. It usually happens in October.
Ooh.
And it is truly just a really cool state. I mean, so they start in the mountains and they end on the beach. And the thing for me is every year that we do it, it's just so fun to end our entire season by jumping in the Atlantic. And they do 7 days across that tour. And like I said, they start in the mountains, so you get some kind of unique terrain. I would say the climbing is a little bit more intense on the mountains, but the broad profile of that event is obviously down because you're going from mountains to ocean. Right. So it's kind of fun in that way.
And you're getting the best of two amazing pieces of nature. You know what I mean? Like mountain views, and then you're at the ocean. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, I might have to put this on my calendar for next year.
You should. Yeah, you absolutely should. Yeah, look them up. Cycle North Carolina, Mountains Coast.
Sweet. And then what was the Washington one again?
Yeah, the Washington one it's called Deception Pass. It's just a 1 day, well, it's 2 day tour up on the coast. And if you look up, you can even just Google Deception Pass, and you'll see the stunning bridge that goes over the inlet from the Pacific. And it's a fundraiser for Bike MS. Very cool part of the state. I mean, I think you get to go through these parks. I think they're state parks. And so, the scenery, I think, is just really, really cool. I mean, it's different than Colorado's giant mountains, and it's different than North Carolina, but pretty easy to get to because you go into Seattle and you go, you just drive an hour or two north of town. So yeah, highly recommend that one.
I just looked it up, and it says Deception Pass features a mix of rugged ocean cliffs and quiet old growth forest.
Yeah.
Known for its panoramic views and jaw-dropping sunsets. Oh, man.
True story.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. This looks awesome.
And
Okay.
you got to go hungry. You got to go hungry because there's blackberries all over that route.
Oh,
and they're just
like wild, growing wild?
Wild. Best ones you'll have in your life, I promise.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. I think I've got next October planned, at least for North Carolina, and then I got to find out when this Washington one is.
Yeah, it's usually in September, but they'll announce dates here soon, I'm sure.
Okay. So, you said that you have, a la carte options, and you, have the 3 different buckets that you help different events. Do you ever offer like private tours? Like, let's say I'm a big group and I want to do an event, but I don't want to deal with all the logistics.
We do, yeah. We do several. In fact, I think we've got 3 on the books next year. There's a group by the name of We Ride 4, and that's the number 4. So shout out to them. We do tours with them all over kind of the Western regional area. Last year we were in Wyoming, Colorado. I think next year, not to let the cat out of the bag, we may wind up in New Mexico. But typically they're 50-person tours, and we actually invested a few years ago in an aid station trailer. And I know that sounds a little funny over the phone, but it's so cool. We have this ability to go out on route, and we work with John, who's the club organizer. Well, Sharon is the director, but John kind of helps do these routes with us, and we'll design these routes to where, like, for example, you got figure 8, right? We can set up on one side with the aid station trailer, and then go jump to the other side as soon as the group leaves.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll have SAG support come in behind them. It's just an incredible time. And I think what I love about those ones is that they're just all adventure focused, right? So you're always seeing new places. And they're not so big. They're kind of in alignment with what we offer for our scenic byway tours. I don't know, have you seen those?
What are they called?
The scenic byway tours.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the same thing. We operate in pods of 50, and we go all over the place. But those are public facing. They're not necessarily private. So folks can look at where we're going. Like, I think we'll go to Rocky Mountain National Park this year. We'll probably go to Crested Butte again. So tons of fun. But yeah, lots of good adventures.
I love it. And anytime you're on a bicycle, it can be an adventure, but to go like to all these places that maybe you wouldn't normally go, knowing that the background stuff is already taken care of, like, that's the key.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, you just want to go have fun.
For sure. Yeah. Well, what would you say, like, here I am thinking like, oh, I want to go on all these tours and it's going to be fun and I'll let somebody else do all the hard work. But then I remember that, Zach, you're the guy doing all the hard work for me. So what is it that you enjoy about this work?
Well, to be fair, I have an amazing team of human. We have 25 guys plus, that are just awesome people. So, I want to give credit to our team where I can. But, I think big picture, what I enjoy about it is getting to meet the people.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I've gotten to meet, I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, man, I get to meet some of the most successful, amazing humans, and not just because they're successful, just because of who they are.
Right.
On these tours. And I look at the Rolodex, so to speak, of people that I've gotten to meet in really unique places, and every day my mind is simply blown. Like the wisdom that I can glean, the experience that is just second to none of getting to know some of these amazing humans is that's why we do it. I mean, we really want to just serve these guys. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Can you think of off the top of your head any like funny story or like something really memorable about a tour that you've been part of?
The adventures are second to none. I mean, uh, there's always something goofy happening, right? I think our guys make it to be just the most fun. By guys, I mean our staff, our crew. But every year we get on these tours and we're like, okay, like for example, on Colorado's Ride, the one you were on this year, I had to call in state patrol because there was a bear that just would not get out of the shoulder. And this guy, I'm like, mate, you're gonna get hit by a cyclist. Move.
Right.
Like, there's just always these amazing things that come around, and you're like, yeah, like, what is this bear doing in the middle of the road on the shoulder for like 20 minutes? Like,
Wow.
go, you know. Meanwhile, we got people behind us that were just, we obviously want to keep safe. But those adventures are just, they abound. I was thinking about this question this morning, and I was like, what do I say to that? Because there's really just every corner you take, there's just something fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
Ah. Well, do you have like what's on the horizon? Because, in theory, like you mentioned, the season's kind of winding down as far as tours for you, but what's on the horizon for you and the company?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, spot on. We just ended our operations with Cycle North Carolina and an event in Texas. And we are now starting to look towards 2025. I am blessed enough to take 2 week, not 2 days, 2 weeks off. And I'm taking a camper van with my kids and we're going to disappear. So that's going to be a
Fun.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. But then, yeah, in December, we will announce the 2025 lineup of tours.
Mm.
So we're looking closely and playing a little bit of Tetris with regards to, okay, these guys are moving here. What's this person? Some people have announced their event dates too, so that's good. But then, on the macro, so to speak, I'm kind of focused on making offerings that are tangible for the working class demographic, the younger demographic. I think something I've noticed is we have a lot of offerings for really fun week-long adventures.
Hmm.
And just to be transparent, I think that's financially difficult and time difficult for a working mom or a dad that can only take Friday through Sunday off. And so that's where I kind of fit in those scenic byway tours and developing that product a little bit because I want to see folks in their 30s and 40s on their bikes more and more and starting to get out and adventure. Because I think, unfortunately, just the finances restrict a lot of that age bracket from
Hmm.
getting into cycling adventures and tours.
Yeah,
And then,
especially if people are restricted with how many weeks of vacation. And once the kids get to the age where, their sports or their activities kind of rule, what the
mhm.
parents get to do. So that's nice to be able to offer, shorter weekend trips.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of routes that lend to that. I mean, I think you can get some good 3 to 5 day routes. I don't think it always has to be 4 to 7 or 10 days long.
Hmm.
So I think that's my focus, over the next 18 months is how can we tap and engage a new group that is if they're on their bikes. It's just how do we get them into adventuring over mountain passes and going
Sure.
cool places.
And then, of course, you'll continue with the 5-star offerings that you already have.
Yeah, you bet. No, I mean, we have really good team leaders on our staff that now just fully understand these events and have been doing them for 8, 9 years. So it's really cool to watch our guys take the reins on that and allowing me to step back and do product development, so to speak,
Sure.
not to be too corporate in the language.
Right. Okay, we have to wait till December to find out what's going to be available in 2025. But your website is fantastic as far as, the different events that you offer, all kinds of good stuff. So tell the listeners about your website.
Yeah. So the website is just summitcyclesolutions.com, and solutions does have an S on it. So just summitcyclesolutions.com. And I'll give you our email too. We're really bad. This is one of the things we're really bad at. I'm just going to be transparent. Is that we're not huge on marketing and social media. A lot of our business base has just come from word of mouth and great humans passing along. So, I think that's been amazing to know that our quality stands alone. But our email is info at summitcyclesolutions with an S on the end again, .com. So info at summitcyclesolutions.com. Email us, get on our email database, because that's going to be the quickest and easiest way for us to alert you to what we got going on, because we'll announce by email the 25 season.
So if we get our email address to you via the info at summitcyclesolutions.com, then we'll be on the list, so we'll know when the 2025 events come out. Okay.
Yeah, correct. And you can subscribe on the website too. There's a pop-up there that'll just say, hey, get on the list, be the first to know.
Sweet.
Good to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, is there anything else that you would like to promote or let listeners know about?
Oh, man, what a blessing that you are saying that, because, we don't get that opportunity always through such a channel like yours. So thank you very much. I think, if we wanted to promote one set of tour for 2025, it would be the Scenic Byway tours. We really want to see that space grow. And those tours are 3 to 4 days long on the weekends, very attainable for somebody that, is got to work Monday through Friday. So that'd be the space to keep an eye out for.
And you get to go see beautiful Colorado.
Yeah. Well, and we might do some up in Montana. We've got a bunch of staff that live up there. So we may be up there too.
Awesome. Well, Zach, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about your company and getting me motivated to get some events on my calendar for next year.
Absolutely my pleasure. I couldn't have enjoyed this anymore, and I wish you the best in the podcast over the long run too.
All right. Thank you, Zach.
All right. See you soon.
Well, listeners, that's it for this week. Email me at murphologypodcast@gmail.com if you have a topic or the name of a cyclist you find interesting. Support my podcast at patreon.com/murphology and visit both my Facebook and Instagram pages for daily entertainment. I have more great episodes in the pipeline, so I hope you continue to be a Murphology podcast listener.